Hi, my name is Bill and this is my shop. It measures approximately 20 feet by 30 feet. And believe it or not, when I'm not working on a project, I just move my workbench and I can park 2 cars in here. I finally got tired of all the dust and cleaning up all the sawdust each day, especially after using the planer. So I decided to put in a dust collection system, and I'm going to show you what I did. To start out with, I went and got me a Harbor Freight 2 horsepower dust collector, model 97869. I had a super coupon, so I got it for 150 bucks. I wanted a 2-stage system, but I didn't want to take up a bunch of space. So I decided to mount the motor vertically above stage 1, which consists of the Super Dust Deputy Cyclone. This thing cost me 180 bucks at Woodcraft, more than the frickin' dust collector. I seriously thought about building a Thine Cyclone separator baffle, but I wanted it to sit above the collector barrel so I wouldn't have to lift the lid very high to empty the can. And by the time I figured out my time and the materials involved, I decided to just spring for the Dust Deputy. As for the 30-gallon barrel, I bought it used for 30 bucks with the lid at a place called Container Management Services near where I live in Portland, Oregon. That's not too much more than you'd pay for an ugly-looking garbage can at Home Depot. Because I mounted the motor up high to make room for the Cyclone and collection barrel, I had to raise up the filter and bag assembly as well. I simply installed it on a universal tool stand I got at Harbor Freight for 35 bucks. To make sure everything's solid, I bolted everything to the floor and to the wall. From the beginning, I decided to use PVC pipe because metal is just too dang expensive. Then I debated whether I should use 5-inch or 4-inch pipe for the main line, but it's just too hard to find all the different 5-inch connectors here locally. In the end, and after doing a lot of research, I decided to just build the dang thing out of inexpensive 4-inch sewer pipe. Don't buy the more expensive and heavy Schedule 40 pipe. You don't need it. I was able to buy everything at my local Home Depot store. Also, the 4-inch pipe fits snugly onto the 4-inch metal blast gates. Make sure the knobs face toward the tool. Instead of sharp 90-degree elbows, I used 2 45s and a short length of pipe to make the gradual bends. That makes for less air friction. I also used Y connectors instead of T's for the same reason. The PVC connectors make a tight seal without glue or screws. I only use glue to make up my 90-degree connectors. I then debated on whether I should run a grounding wire through the pipe to each tool, which I did in my last shop. But after doing a lot of research, I decided that my shop wouldn't blow up, and if I started getting shocks from static buildup, I could always go back and run the wire. I'm happy to report no shocks and definitely no explosions. My longest run is approximately 47 feet from the dust collector to my biggest chip producer, the thickness planer. I was worried that the run may be too long for a 4-inch pipe with a Harbor Freight sucker upper. But as you can see, it sucks everything up beautifully. I think the trick is to have tight seals between the connectors and pipe, to have gradual turns instead of sharp ones, and to have just one blast gate open at a time. The Super Dust Deputy works beautifully as well. The barrel is about a quarter full and there's virtually no dust in the bag. Definitely worth the 180 bucks I paid. My next longest run was to the table saw with about 17 feet of flexible pipe at the end. But my cabinet always stays empty except for a little dust outside the suction path. I also attempt to collect dust at my sliding compound miter saw. I don't have a lot of room at the back to install a large hood, but between the 4-inch dust collector hose and the 2.5-inch hose connected to a shop vac, I collect about 80% of the sawdust. With the remote switch, the vacuum turns on automatically when I power up the saw, and it automatically turns off 7 seconds after turning off the saw. To power the dust collector on and off, I installed a remote switch, and the remote I just clip into the pocket on my shop apron. To increase the efficiency of my dust collector, I replaced the 5-micron bag with a 0.5 micron filter from Win Environmental. It was 143 bucks with shipping and fits a Harbor Freight collector without any modifications. Because I was so impressed with the performance of the Super Dust Deputy, I bought a Dust Deputy kit for my shop vac. 99% of the dust never reaches the vacuum, so no clogged filter and no loss of suction. I also plan on using it with my random orbit sander to keep my shop and lungs dust free. Well, I hope you like my shop setup, and I hope this video helps you as you configure your dust collection system. Heck, half the fun of having a shop is working to make the shop itself better. Well, happy woodworking, and as I always say, you can never have too many tools.